Now we are. Thank you, whoever reminded us. That is brilliant. And so, yeah, welcome everyone. This is our 10th Virtual Innovation Dialogue. Very excited to see so many coming online. And we'll tell you more about what's going to be happening here. But we have a very exciting panel. And we're also going to have a poll, so be ready and be ready to engage. So just briefly, my name is Thomas Hallin. I'm part of the MDEP as a co-chair for Innovation and Entrepreneurship Group, together with Dr. Bagg over at Barstow Community College. And today's agenda here, we're really focusing on entrepreneurship for everyone, right? And we'll do a brief introduction of the panelists, and we'll do a panel session, and then we'll have an open dialogue and Q&A, and we'll share some of the next upcoming events that's happening here. Really, our mission is to establish a thriving innovation culture and entrepreneur ecosystem up here in the high desert. And thanks to Lisa Kiplinger-Kennedy, who is the regional director for all the community colleges, there's a new platform coming online soon, and also a new website where we'll centralize, where a lot of the information will be centralized on, which is fantastic. Our golden rules throughout today is basically, please make sure to write your name and email address in the chat. Use the chat to ask any questions and to request to speak up. And yes, by all means, please make sure to engage, participate, and make your voice heard as well. So without further ado, I'll leave the word over to Eartha.
I am muted. I apologize. So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Eartha Johnson, and I'm the Director of Guided Pathways, Equity, and Achievement at Barstow Community College. This is a pleasure for me to introduce our panelists today. We are going to be very, I think, engaged and informed, and I think inspired in many ways. So our first panelist that I'd like to introduce to everyone is Caitlin Yang. Caitlin is an entrepreneur, educator, and engineer who has a passion for providing young founders access to entrepreneurial education, mentorship, and capital. She's the founder of StartSmart, an entrepreneur development organization, and Grasshopper, the first youth crowdfunding platform. She's also an innovation and entrepreneurship ambassador at the University of California, Irvine Entrepreneurship Center, pursuing a mechanical and material science engineering degree. Caitlin, do you want to wave at the audience?
Yeah, thank you so much, Eartha, and thank you for the opportunity to speak today. I'm very excited.
Absolutely, welcome. Panelist is Christian Mohammed, aka Simo. I feel like I need to be younger to, say it with some kind of swag, but Simo, that's all I got. So Simo is an entrepreneur, songwriter, artist, and jack of all things multimedia. He grew up in the high desert and graduated from the Los Angeles Film School with an associate's degree in video game production. He's worked as a soundboard engineer at KCEP FM radio, has run the sound for talk shows, music logs, and live remotes. So Christian is the founder and CEO of More of Everything Media, MO, and currently writes lyrics and performs throughout Southern California. Welcome, Christian.
Thank you so much, Eartha. I'm glad to be here. Thank you guys for having me. And much love to everybody who came in today, registered, and are still coming in today. I see we're at 47 participants. So, and by the way, Eartha, you don't got to be young to say Simo. Simo is just a nickname I created. So you're fine. You're fine. You said it perfect. You said it perfect. And I'm just happy to be here. The company is More of Everything Media. The motto is where no one's got us like us. So today I'm here to as a panelist, but also learning and talking and engaging with all of my fellow panelists as well. I'm here to learn, and can't wait to talk to you guys, and we can get each other's back and keep creating. So thank you, Eartha.
You're very welcome. I'd also like to introduce Jean Odom Brown, who is a 10-year United States Marine Corps veteran, Thank you for your service, sir. Mr. Odom Brown began his post-military career as an entrepreneur, developing a digital artist management software program for talented artists and musicians. He eventually sold his first company in 2013 in partnership with Universal Music Group. He's also the co-founder of Rock the Bass, a military veteran-owned live entertainment touring company, which creates, manages, and promotes live entertainment on military installations throughout the United States and abroad. In 2017, he founded Smartpreneur Inc., an entrepreneurship development agency dedicated to creating the conditions in which entrepreneurs can develop their ideas and harness the skills necessary to start, operate, grow, and scale their companies. He received his entertainment business bachelor's degree from the renowned Los Angeles Film School, his business management degree from Argosy University, and obtained a master's degree in innovation and entrepreneurship from Full Sail University in Florida. Welcome, Jean.
Thank you very much, Eartha. Appreciate that. And I'm happy to be here. Thank you, MDEP, for having me.
So this brings us to our moderator, and I'm very delighted to introduce Denise Pasley, who's been a professional educator and entrepreneur for more than 20 years. She earned her Bachelor's of Arts degree in business from Chatham College in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and graduated from the Colorado Technical Institute Master's Degree Program in Management Science. Denise is a member of the Computer Users in Education, the Association for Career and Technical Education, the Alliance for Education, and the National Association for Community College Entrepreneurship. In 2006, she formed her own small business, which provided personal and professional wellness training to small nonprofit businesses in the high desert. I also want to say thank you for your service, Denise, because I understand that you too served in the armed forces. So welcome this afternoon.
Thank you very much, Eartha. That was really lovely. And thanks to all the panel. And so I'm just going to move on by starting out asking the panel a series of questions and that they can respond to. So if everybody's ready, I'm going to get started. Okay, first question is, how did you come to pursue an entrepreneurial path? Did someone in your life influence or inspire you to become an entrepreneur, or did it happen through other circumstances? Whoever would like to go first. How about Caitlin?
Yeah, I can take that one, definitely. And so I actually never had a family member who pursued entrepreneurship before. And so before high school, I had never heard the term entrepreneur. So that was a very new term to me. My definition was really shaped by two different experiences that I had. One was a selective high school incubator that was held at the University of Pennsylvania. I conducted a lot of market research on foot, developed an app, pitched to investors, and tested the beta at an international conference. But the reason why I was able to get there was because I had a lot of ideas growing up, but I didn't know where to go to get those ideas out there and build it and make it come to life. So I just started searching on Google, looking through the YouTube videos, looking through all the blogs. They weren't giving me enough information. And so I decided to apply to this incubator, not knowing whether or not I would get in, because they had a very selective process. And when I did, I looked at the price tag and it was $6,000. And me being, a high school sophomore, just looking at myself and thinking, how am I going to come up with $6,000? I decided to, go and pitch to my family, to my friends, essentially going back to the grassroots and crowdfunding my way there. Not using GoFundMe, but just spending hours on the phone and talking to my friends and family about what I wanted to do once I got into the incubator and what I was going to create. And so throughout that entire process, after those 4 weeks, that really just taught me the power of execution. And it also instilled in me a sense of empowerment and ownership over what I was doing. I guess with a lot of academics now, it's more of, oh, if you take this test, are you going to get an A? But really for now, when you think about startups and entrepreneurship, it's really about how much you put into it and what you're going to get out of it. And so that taught me about execution, you know, going through with it. And that really is what sparked the beginning of StartSmart. Just to, I guess, go over it a little bit, that we're an entrepreneur development organization, but specifically for youth, because we do believe that starting with the young generation is what is going to get us to that next level. When they come into university, they should know that there are all of these resources that are out there for them already and know how to take advantage of them. The second experience is I had crowdfunded via pitching again to family and friends for an opportunity to go to MIT. So in 3 years, my school's Zero Robotics team actually managed to make it into the finals, and they were flying our code on the International Space Station on the Spheres satellite. And they had contacted us. We had worked for this for 3 years, just staying up, simulation after simulation and looking at the code. That was a fun experience in itself, but they contacted us 2 weeks before we were supposed to go to MIT. And again, we kind of looked at each other and said, where are we going to get this money? Because we don't have anything to go off of right now. And so I started telling my team members, well, what if I started a GoFundMe? Can you guys share it with your friends and family? Is that going to work? But nobody felt comfortable with sharing that. They felt that, you know, asking for money was just too much, and they didn't like that idea. And so I found myself thinking, you know, we had spent 3 years on this. What are we going to do to get ourselves there? There has to be some type of solution. So after launching that GoFundMe campaign and a couple of days later, just looking over it, sending it to everybody, again, pitching, I realized that, you know, just a couple of $100 is amazing, but it's not going to get us to Massachusetts. We are based in LA. And so I reached out to a city council member that I had worked with before, you know, trying to see if I could talk to some of these council members about putting our city on the map. And after pitching to them, we had got into live TV and some press. And one of the mayors invited us back and handed us a $5,500 check to cover the expenses of our entire team going to MIT. So I guess what that really taught me was that crowdfunding and funding any type of startup takes a lot of grit. It takes a lot of going to people, not being afraid of asking for money if you have a reason to, right? If it's, you know, a good idea on both sides, then they should have a reason to do that. Also, the importance of right timing, and that many people are needed to drive momentum behind a seemingly simple campaign. So I guess the way that this all ties together is that the reason why I decided to pursue entrepreneurship was I noticed that there were not that many resources for young entrepreneurs to get into entrepreneurship, to start their own startup. And when they get to the point where they want to pitch, especially for us after founding our first company, there was no capital that we could access. So part of what we're doing is just building an ecosystem that can house all of that. And these students don't feel left behind. You know, after they take this program, they have access to capital to actually bring that idea to life. And that's really the foundation of the reason why I became an entrepreneur, is to solve a problem that I had and that I validated through speaking to others about.
Hey, Caitlin. So you want to just keep rolling, Denise?
Okay, so yeah, I'm sorry. So the next question is, did you hear a clear picture in your mind about what you wanted to accomplish? And how did the vision evolve over time? Did you purposefully set out to identify a problem that you could solve, or did you stumble into an idea? And why did you choose to pursue that specific idea?
Yeah, I can take that one unless you got it, Chris.
Nah, go ahead. Go ahead.
For sure. So this is an exciting question because it kind of also goes back to the journey a little bit for myself. Just first of all, being young and an at-risk kid, I grew up in the foster care system. About 16 years of my life was in the foster care system. So, most people kind of count you out on that perspective. You're the 0.01% to kind of pursue something of entrepreneurship or business development. But early on, I met a couple of key people in my life. It was my stepfather, who owned his own company. inspired me to kind of see what he does. He basically helped kids. When you ever heard of the Big Brother, Big Sister programs, he did that in the Midwest, pretty much took over the whole Midwest. And I saw him travel. I saw him help kids, you know, similar to me, at-risk kids or people who had less resources. So I think that was installed in me for a long time. So when I got into school, I decided to leave college and go and join the military. And I ended up, you know, going to do that and spent, you know, 10 years in the military. But during the time period I was in the military, I was given an opportunity to lead my troops while in Afghanistan, but they have given me limited resources. So anyone know anything about the military, Denise? You get limited resources, period. you don't get what you think you need to accomplish the mission. So in my world, it was about accountability for personnel, equipment, money, translation. We had interpreters who from one location to the next will come in our area of operation, and they expected me to keep control of this and organize this through Microsoft Excel. And I was like, this is not going to work. So I kind of went back to the, you know, drawing board, trying to figure out what systems I had at my availability. And I had a program that Microsoft built called Microsoft Access. And then from there, I had another program that we had called Cognos. And Cognos is where you can create a brain out of that. It's a pretty much you just add information, you can pull information back out based on what you're looking for. And I learned that system on the fly and built a dynamic, you know, system that helped me better account for personnel in the area of operation of Afghanistan that we were there. Come to find out, that system ended up becoming a very valuable system. It was something that I did for my needs, but we ended up passing it off to the people who came after us, which was the Army. And what happened with that is that they took that and said, this is something we need to turn into a real system. So because of my background and everything that I did with it, everyone kind of looked at me as the catalyst to go to. So I not only gave advice to creating a better system, but what ended up happening is they basically told me that as a military veteran or as a military active duty, like I have no way of keeping that system because it was intellectual property created while I was in the military. That struck me hard. It hit me pretty hard. I was like, all this work done, all this stuff that I created, you know, how can you tell me I can't be a part of it? And they also told me, even if I got out of the military, that I wouldn't be able to go in and work with this particular company that was going to build this particular product off of my IP. And so because of the relationship I had with a lot of my senior leaders, they looked at me and said, look, you should just think about pursuing entrepreneurship, think about doing something out, you know, out of the military. And I had no idea what entrepreneurship was at that point in time. I had no idea what being an entrepreneur was about. But because of them telling me, look, you know, you've created something of great value, maybe you can do it again. That just sparked the idea of what is entrepreneurship. And that was the first question I started asking myself. So like any person who wants to find something, I just went for every book, every magazine, every movie, whatever I could possibly find on what is entrepreneurship. And I just started digging and digging and digging. And what happened is because of the digging aspect of it and wanting to learn more, I ended up becoming obsessed with the whole idea of entrepreneurship, literally. And I don't know if someone, you know, has ever done that with their own experience, but when you find yourself in this zone, you're kind of crazy. People think you're crazy. You just start digging and you start talking a certain way and you start acting a certain way. And the people who knew me didn't know what was going on, but they knew something was going on. But it didn't matter to me. I just wanted to continue going. So because of the support I had from the people that was in the military saying, look, you know, you could stay in, you've been in for 10 years, you can get done with 10 more years, you can be done. They weren't telling me that. They were telling me, look, you should really think about doing this, get out and pursue this entrepreneurial thing as best as you can. Maybe you'll find something of value that you can do it again. So just that desire that I had to want to do this again, it just kept on driving me and driving me and driving me. Come to find out, as I got out of the military, I got pretty lucky with this company that got sold to UMG. I was literally a part of a team because not only for myself, I am a musician, I play piano. I was just making music and, you know, on the side and having my friends, you know, take that music and make music from it. And I just got involved with a company who wanted to help manage music and artists. And because of that, I helped them develop their system based off the similar skills that I had in the military for the system that I built. And that turned into my entrepreneur experience, which was seeing a company already being established, already happening, but being around these people who were thinking the way that I wanted to think like. And when that company got sold, being a part of it and having some benefits from it what I did was to say, you know what, I want to go 100 miles per hour. I think I can do this. And what I decided to do is go back to school and not necessarily pursue entrepreneurship as, you know, an academic approach. Pursue it because I lacked the knowledge. Pursue it because I did not know anything about the actual day-to-day of being some entrepreneur. And so when I got my degree at the Full Sail University, I actually was told, you know, my whole capstone project was create a company that will spur entrepreneurship across the country to communities. That was what I was wanting to do anyways. I wanted to figure this out. So it just created this zone for me that every single class that lined up with what I wanted to do. So I was able to create my program within my school, and also take all of my classmates through my program to validate the viability of, can you learn entrepreneurship in the way that I've learned it. And so going back to the original question, you know, what kind of got me there, it literally was by accident. It was also by intention. So the accident aspect was I did something that created value that I didn't know was going to be a significant level of value. And then actually wanting to do that again and again and again, it just became a passion. And then that just became my intention. So if anyone's here who thinks that entrepreneurship is for someone particular, it's really not. It's going to find you, but you got to actually decide what you want to do with it and find the support with it. And once again, the last thing I would say on this is I didn't have the support through the process of creating the company directly. I had the support of people telling me, you can do something like you did before, go ahead and go do that. And that just kept me going.
Thank you, John.
Absolutely.
The next question is, I guess, directed to you, Christian. How did you test your ideas early on? How do you know that you had a good idea?
Yeah, great question, Denise. What I want to do really quick is just quickly skim over the very first question that we did talk about, so I can kind of introduce myself a little better before I tell that side of the story. And Kaylin and John, like I love your guys' stories, your guys' hustle. Isn't it the best feeling just looking back on where you started and to where you are now, just that climb and that journey? Like, it's amazing. So you guys got amazing stories. So, you know, I'm glad to be hearing it, and definitely be in contact with you guys long after this. So with me personally, my entrepreneurship journey started with me actually wanting to be selfless in what I did. As Eartha introduced me, I did start, I loved music, I loved writing, I wanted to be the top rapper, I wanted to do all of that. And then I just looked around me and I was like, okay, how can I produce? How can I start producing instead of worrying about me? Because I want the name C Mo, which is a combination of my first and last name, Christian Muhammad. I know my name is an oxymoron. People tell me that all the time, but just C Mo cultivated from just wanting to create. And so I started a brand called More of Everything Media, because at the same time as I was, you know, writing the lyrics back in the day, I also loved to do Photoshop. I love to video edit on Adobe Premiere. I love to be behind the camera sometimes. I like to plan and design things. So the entrepreneurship journey with More of Everything Media just started with me wanting to, okay, how can I be part of a team? I don't want to be solo anymore. I want to collab and then create. So that's what More of Everything Media is to me. And also too, getting back to the question, the story behind the business. The story was that I came to Las Vegas 4 years ago. I had the idea back in 2015, but I was wondering, okay, how can I expand? How can I collaborate with all types of creators, whether that be artists, musicians who play instruments only, videographers, photographers, audio engineers. So what I did was, coming to Vegas, I had to look on social media. I looked on Google, what's the nearest studio near me? What's the closest photo studio? How can I find a vocal engineer? And the algorithm is set up to a kind of way where you only find, of course, the top-notch people. You go on Instagram, you find the people with the most followers, but chances are when you're trying to work with them, being in a new state, it's very hard. It's a long line, or it's too expensive. So More of Everything Media was something that I wanted to put together, so to help independent artists collaborate, and entrepreneurs. They can collaborate on this site without the numbers, without the algorithm kind of throwing your creativity under the mat and putting someone else's above. So the journey that I'm kind of going into is definitely a big fish, a big risk with maybe even creating a new type of social media. But you know, just the story of that, I really wanted people to be able to come to different areas and collaborate with the independent artists that have amazing content that you don't see because the algorithm doesn't put them there. You know, so that's kind of where it is right now. The pitch develop, the pitch develop was the motto. No one's got us like us. As in, you know, we can be each other's pillars. We can build bridges together. And my theory, I talked to a friend about this just a little while ago. My theory was, how many followers do you have on your Instagram? How many friends do you have on Facebook? 700, 1,000. If those 700 to 1,000 people actually hit the share button, click the link, gave you that play, gave you that like, how much it would expand you. It would expand your brand or business or art to be seen by new eyes. And then guess what? The algorithm is going to work for you in that favor. So that's what my pitch was. You know, no one's got us like us. Come over to Mo Media if you want to be part of a collaborative team, and if you want to work with people who do the same thing that you do, you know, without the worry of just getting scrolled past. So that's kind of the pitch. No one's got us like us. Remember that.
So there's a question in the chat. I don't know if it's for Christian or for everyone, but I just wanted to point out that Carrie wanted to ask if you took any photography and multimedia courses in high school, or did you learn on your own? I'm assuming this was for
Christian.
For Christian.
But I want to say something real quick on that too. It's so funny. These systems, these things that you have to just learn them. You have to just throw yourself at it sometimes. I'll be honest with you. I know how Caitlin kind of built hers, throwing herself at it and saying, okay, I'll figure out how to build a website. You know, for myself, figuring out how to do, you know, music management on a software like Logic. I mean, so I'm sure, Christian, you can answer the same way, but sometimes, to be completely honest with you, if it's something you need, it is your responsibility to learn it. There's so much content out there today that we've never had. So you can obviously get some long distance mentorship on YouTube just by looking at some people. But Christian, go ahead with it, because I know you got a better answer than that though.
No worries. That was spot on. And you know, even if Caitlin, you want to chime in too, it's exactly as Jean said. You have to dive in and learn it. If you want to do those free sessions, you asked if we learned it. Let me go to that question. High school, learn on your own. Yeah. So high school, you get the learning for free. Basically, you jump in college courses. Being LA Film School, they gave me Photoshop, and I did start working on different things on my own while learning Photoshop, because designing was part of the game production program, design characters, etc. And after that, I had to just do it on my own. I watched many YouTube videos. I had trial and error with making flyers for people's concerts or people's events, and actually worked with people to help me get a little bit better at it. So yeah, something that you got to really discipline yourself with and learn every day. Once you get those hotkeys down, you can kind of just, your mind just explodes from there, and you can create all types of things on, you know, Photoshop, video editing, even if you're behind the Sony camera. So yeah.
Yeah, I definitely have to agree with that, especially around creating my first website. We had started with, I think it was Google, and tried to navigate everything from one platform to another, and that was a complicated process. Jean knows about that because he helped me with it. Especially when you're starting out as a young entrepreneur, I guess I just really want to say that no question is a bad question. And there will always be people who will help you along the way, as long as you know what you are lacking. Like, you know, for me, I had never set up a website before unless it was on Wix or something like that. Those were much easier to figure out. But if I wanted to code my own site, I would need to look into it. I would need to talk to someone about it, you know, set up the domain, all of that. I couldn't have done without significant mentorship. And I know that we'll be talking a little bit more about mentorship as well later on, but I just wanted to say that, yeah, your point about mentorship is huge as well.
Oh, thank you all. Thank you very much. I'm going to move to the next question. We've heard some of all of your stories behind your businesses, but how did you develop a pitch, and how do you have any advice to anybody who wants to participate in pitch contests?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll be very honest with you. It's been more refined over the years now. You know, pitching to many people, you start to figure yourself out and figure out what your strengths are. But in the very beginning, it's really, really tough. First of all, there's a level of self-confidence that you have to have going into the ability to take your ideas and then deliver to someone else and hope that they don't shut you down. It's a little bit of confidence building in that area, but I'll kind of take us beyond that. After we get beyond that confidence building, there are certain things and certain ways you get information across to people, and you got to kind of do it where you're not over pitching and over speaking for long periods of time. And one thing that I usually teach now is to find what I call the power of three. It's a simple model, and it's to figure out the three main things that you feel your business needs to have in order for you to be successful in what you want to do, whatever that may be. So right now, you know, let's just pick the setting that we're in right now. This is a virtual conversation. We need people, we need speakers, and we need a platform. If we don't have one of those, literally we don't have this engagement we're having today. So now we can pitch this whole platform as a platform where people come together and speak about issues or topics of entrepreneurship and innovation. And then you can go from there, but you have to have those components in order for you to feel confident about what you're delivering, because once they ask more questions, they're going to probably ask a question about what you said. So if they ask a question about, well, what do you mean by people? Well, we need more entrepreneurial thinking people who want this information. What do you mean by platforms? Well, we need this type of platform to deliver this particular way. That's how you kind of go with it. It's an easier way for you to remind yourself. So I'll leave it at that, because I know there's more advice out there, but you know, picking these type of items to go with that, you cannot do without, that even if your business was the successful it can be, you cannot do without these particular items. That helps you at least start the pitch. And then we can talk more about, you know, pitch development, things like that later.
Yeah, I have to agree. The power of three is especially really helpful to frame your pitch. And I think when I was working with a couple of youth entrepreneurs over the summer, one thing that I guess they didn't understand was the first thing that they should do is learn to pitch themselves before they even pitch an idea. And that's really the key, because understanding the way that you communicate is going to help you communicate your idea in a more succinct way. And that's how investors are going to see you and understand what you're trying to stand for. I'd also say that with your pitch, especially if you have an idea for a startup, you always want to start with why you're doing what you're doing, because these people are going to look at you, and instead of judging your idea, they're going to see how competent you are as the founder to keep on going and keep persisting despite having, you know, multiple obstacles that are going to be in your way. And they're going to see, you know, 5 years out, are you still going to be pursuing it, even though there are all of these mishaps that might happen every day. And it's something that a lot of entrepreneurs, and I'm sure Jean, Christian, both of you have faced as entrepreneurs, that every day there are different obstacles that you have to face. And if people can see that you've worked through it, then they'd want to invest in you because they trust you, and you don't just talk the talk, but you walk the walk.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. And what I could say right now, you know, personally, you know, my pitch, honestly, it changes, it tweaks a little bit each and every time I meet somebody new. So I can kind of stay refreshed and even have that person ask me different questions when I'm pitching to give me new ideas, things I never thought of. They'll ask me, oh, okay, so if you're doing this, how are you doing X, Y, and Z? So that's what I could say about it. And hey, look at that. I told you guys I was gonna be learning new stuff, like the power of three. I just heard that right now from you too, the power of three. So I was used to the elevator pitch, you know, I know the elevator pitch, but the power of three, I appreciate that. But yeah, a pitch is definitely selling yourself within a limited amount of time to me, and I'll tweak it every now and then just to have people ask me different questions about my business. So
Yeah. One last thing I would say on that too, like Christian was mentioning, sometimes you don't know which room you're going to be in to which pitch you have to pitch. At the end of the day, it changes all the time. Sometimes it's very business focused. They just want to know about the problem you're trying to solve. Tell me the problem you're solving, who has that problem, and what your solution is to that problem. Sometimes that's the only pitch that people care about. Certain groups, maybe that's an investment firm or someone who is too busy to, go into detail with something else. That's your quick pitch. But then there may be that extended pitch where people like to hear about your passion. Like we're talking right now, they might want to know like why you do what you do. How, tell us a little bit more about your mission or your vision, the values that you stand for, whatever that may be. It's a different method that we can go into, and like maybe some of the workshops that we'll create will be available for that. But I honestly believe all of us have had that experience where your pitch changes every single day. Your business changes every single day, and every single year you might find more value that you can offer, which is where you change your pitch again. So, once again, just keep on working on the foundations of it.
Thank you. I'm just feverishly writing down notes. So if I look like I'm looking down, then that's what that's about. The next question, each one of you have very distinct personalities, but would you share with us one personal characteristic you believe someone should develop in order to be a successful entrepreneur?
I can chime in on this one first. Kind of what we're all doing right now, just smile and be positive. Kind of smile and be positive is always my go-to. I like to come off as super nice whenever I'm meeting somebody, because I never know if that person could be my potential partner in the future, potential customer. That's what I have to say about it. As well as being courteous and being nice. I would say you should listen while you're having the conversation and networking. Really listen to what the other person has to say, is saying their ideas or even their advice, even if the advice may not be in the same category, the same niche is really what you're doing. Just still listen, keep an open mind. And I think that builds relationships. But if you have that personality, it'll build long-lasting relationships. They'll feel like, this person really did, have a great conversation with me and even listen to me. So that's what I could say about it.
Yeah, go ahead, Caitlin.
Oh, go ahead, John. Go ahead.
So there's so many characteristics that I would love to throw out there, but honestly, every individual is different. So it actually starts with, your self-awareness. Being more self-aware is probably the best characteristic I can possibly say, because entrepreneurship is it's just a challenging experience. And the people who knew you before you're an entrepreneur are going to question what you're doing. The people who don't know you as an entrepreneur are going to be like, what are you doing? And then the people that you need to know, they don't know who you are, and you have to act and be like who you want to become. And you can only do that at some point when you are truly understanding what you want to do. And I honestly believe self-awareness helps you get there. It helps you become more aware of others as well. So you learn how to deal with people because of the way that you operate. It's just a characteristic that all of us can learn in general, just as people. I think that's something we can do. But as an entrepreneur, honestly, being told no can really hurt. Being told they can't help you today, but they could, that hurts. These are the situations that you're going to find yourself in, and the way you come out of it is either it's advice that you take, it's either information you use later as fuel to drive you to the next success that you're trying to create. But self-awareness is one, and I just want to add one more, which is just resilience. At the end of the day, entrepreneurship it's a challenge to create something from nothing. Or if you're an entrepreneur, you're adding value to something. It's a challenge to do that. And a lot of people are going to tell you you're doing the wrong thing. And not only is the self-awareness going to kick in, but your resilience to be able to continue needs to come next. And so that would be my best advice.
Yeah, for me especially, self-awareness is a huge one. I also think that one of the personal characteristics that I want to champion every day and just think about is to have humility and have that ability to learn from the mistakes, learn and adapt to new situations. Also, you know, especially when you're talking to team members or you have multiple team members and everybody's dealing with something different, there might be situations that you don't understand. And it takes a lot of compassion to not just, you know, just to step back and say, you know, we don't have to keep going at it. Why don't we take a couple of days off? I totally understand your situation. You know, there's a lot of compassion and a lot of humility every day that we deal with as entrepreneurs. And also the second thing I would say is don't be afraid to ask questions, because you're going to learn a lot from people. And that's really the only way that you're going to learn. And the worst that you can get is, no, I don't know, when you're in some type of conversation. But also when you're talking to mentors, don't switch your brain off. Recently, when I was talking to a mentor, he said, oh, I don't really know about that. I'm not too technical. Someone else in the company actually handles that for me. And so I was thinking, oh, well, why don't you connect us to that person that actually understands the type of question that I'm asking, and maybe I can learn something from that. So I guess sometimes as early stage entrepreneurs, we're so used to saying yes, 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 and just nodding our heads and recording the conversation and probably just taking notes and looking back at it later. But especially when someone is talking and they offer up a connection or a certain opportunity, having your brain on at that moment is going to make that difference, because you can jump in at that opportunity at the right moment.
Yeah, I want to add one more to that too, that Christian and Caitlin both, that networking space is, you're an entrepreneur, and remember, that's contrarian. That's something you're trying to become. So sometimes you have to put yourself in positions where you've never put yourself in before, get into certain rooms where you've never been in before, but you have to be there. I just read an article on a young kid who's 14 years old. He just retired his mom, and he retired his mom because he created a clothing company. And every Saturday he would go to the barbershops in his neighborhood or across the city to ask, can I sell my clothing here? Every Saturday on the dot, you know, but he was afraid. He's 12 years old at the time, and walking in doing that, it just inspires me as someone who I know. I mean, I might have been in some bigger rooms maybe, but at the end of the day, that's the same tenacity that's required. And I just got reminded by that a couple of days ago by a 12-year-old kid, you know.
Thank you.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah, just my 2 cents as well. Yeah, that's got to be in and got to get there to kind of be seen. My general manager over at my old radio station said, stay ready so you don't got to get ready. Even if it's your first time, jump on in, dive in, because you never know where it can take you. So that's very true. This is my first time personally being on a panel and growing my website and just getting everything together as an entrepreneur. So I'm happy to also take these gems, as everyone else should.
There's a question in the chat.
Yeah, sure. Which one is it, Eartha?
So Lisa would like to know, how have you all had to pivot during these trying times? So business is quite fluid, and because of COVID, have you had to make any changes in how you practice?
Oh, wow. That's a huge question, and I think it's spot on. It's so funny, man, because there's no such thing as business as usual. if I can say that out loud, there's no such thing. It's going to change all the time, and these type of situations pop up. People who had the recession in 2008 know what this is like, and this situation with COVID has woke a lot of people up about how business can be done and how business should be done, or what changes we should make on the local level, corporate level. We've seen it all. And for my company, what I learned is, and Thomas has met me a while back, and I was building my company Smartpreneur just after graduating from my school, and also building my first company at that time. And Smartpreneur, it was to challenge the status quo, and I thought I needed to do that from a certain particular way. So I invited a lot of people into my space, right? Going to different environments, bringing people to me, not realizing that there were other platforms out there where I could have been virtual from day one. I could have had classes online all day, just having people sign up and that could have been a revenue stream. I never knew that even existed, because my mindset said, this is the way I need to build this particular model. So today we're literally revamping our website, revamping all of our processes and procedures around how we introduce, our early stage development programs for young entrepreneurs, and also some of our higher growth programs for some of the entrepreneurs who are in business today. We're learning that we have ability to reach them. We never thought we did, and it's so simple. There was Google Hangouts at one point that could have been a solution. There was Skype that could have been a solution, but Zoom just seems to be a solution that everyone has tapped into once or twice since the last 10 months, that has proven that business can be done from a distance. And so for me, it's really about the next chapter of my business, which is still offering what I offer on the ground, but to really take my programs to another level, and my company to another level in the virtual space. So that's one pivot that we've had to do. Lisa, I hope that kind of has some value.
Yeah, for me as well, because we were actually gearing up to start these programs, our entire company, we're creating these online youth entrepreneur development programs and going into high schools, going into and talking to these high school students. And because we're online, we actually have the mobility to reach more people. And because of this trying time, there are a lot more problems that we can solve. And this is why we need entrepreneurs, especially young entrepreneurs who are coming in, to recognize that there are problems out here that they can solve. And so over the summer, we had piloted the program with a cohort of high school students and empowered them to start their entrepreneur journey now. Because now is the time that you can actually start developing these skills to solve the problems of tomorrow and solve the problems that you're currently facing every day. And I think especially because we started with the entrepreneur mindset, it's really more about observing around you than just coming up with an idea out of the blue, because that's not what happens in entrepreneurship. It's really, you observe a pattern, and this pattern comes out at you so many times that you feel so frustrated and you have to solve it, because if you don't solve it, who else is?
Very, very true. I was in my head thinking about how I had to pivot personally, because I work with artists. So how I had to pivot, honestly, from what I did was do podcasts. I started out with podcasts before COVID was here. I was always co-hosting shows in the Vegas lounges, the hookah lounges. So yeah, everything flipped 180 for me. It's probably it's hard for me right now, and I'm still trying to find out the perfect problem I have to solve other than collaborating. The way I've been pivoting is just more content online. I started doing IG Live, which I should have done ages ago. IG Live, making content with myself instead of with artists in my podcast. So that's kind of what I've been doing right now. Just still speaking out there, showing my face, and getting in touch with artists, giving tips and tricks, motivation on recorded content that we can just spread out there online, since I can't see my people over here at the venues in Vegas anymore. So that's kind of what I've been going through in my niche on this side. Yeah.
Hey, Denise, I see a question in the chat that I think is really important. It says, hello, how do each of you stay motivated when things may feel stagnant at times? Have any books inspired entrepreneurship? Yeah, entrepreneurship, yeah. I'll be honest with you, it gets things, from an entrepreneurship perspective, things get stagnant all the time. Your ideas get stagnant, business activity gets stagnant, other people get stagnant, and you're not. Like, it's crazy that it happens so often. You just kind of have to know that you have an end goal you're reaching. At the end of the day, if you don't truly see that vision and you don't have a particular way of getting there, you're going to be stagnant. So one way that I learned is to give myself different milestones. I used to give myself big milestones, and Thomas knows me very well. Our milestones are very big, but the one thing that we don't do is get caught up on the big picture. We know that there's certain things that can happen along the way, and even if it seems like it's not going to bring as much value back, but it has it has a part to play. Get it done, get it out the way, whatever that may be. If it's just writing your 30-second pitch, write it. That starts the process. If it's just coming up with that idea and coming up with just the name, spend some time just to come up with the name. And then from that name, go figure out what problem you're going to solve, right? It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to always start with the fact that you found some great problem to solve. you might just found out that one company does one thing right, but their name sucks, like Craigslist. Like, I don't know why a company like Craigslist is so big. It's a weird name. But you know what? There's other places out there that have done, that say, you know what, Craigslist, you offer these things, but guess what? We're going to offer some other things too, like Angie's List, right? Like TaskRabbit has started to grow, which is now a large company. They've done the same thing. They just said, you know what, you do it good. I feel I can do it better, and I got a different name to go with, you know? So I really think sometimes we get caught up with that. And as an entrepreneur, you can't let things get stagnant, because it's almost like writer's block. You can be in that for a while. If anyone's ever been in that in any level of their life, you can be in that for a while, and you're the only person that can really help yourself get out of it. So that's probably my best advice for that.
Would you like to go?
There's another question in the chat after you go, Christian.
Okay. Yeah, I see that one as well. Yeah, so yes, staying motivated during these stagnant times. I gotta tell you guys, I was so like brought down. I was so heartbroken when we had to do our first lockdown. It means I couldn't see anybody face to face. I couldn't shake hands. I couldn't talk. You know, a lot of things. I personally don't like talking on the phone or FaceTime. Rather come see you in person, or you know, shoot you an email back and forth so we can set up a meeting. But getting through that stage, yeah, I just taught myself to, of course, keep creating, make certain tasks for the day, make certain tasks for the hour. Every hour you're gonna do something different to create, just to create anything. Create like a cool story on your Facebook. Start making a poll to talk with people on your Facebook friends. And I would say also too, don't look at what anybody else is doing that may be your competition, or maybe like a successful brand that you idolize. Don't pay too much attention on what they're doing during these times, because you know they have that team, they have that creative team of like 20 plus people who can kind of come up with these things, and it's just you and your 5 or 10 people, or even you're one solo person that has to say, okay, how can I adapt? How can I create? And keep moving forward. Don't look at, you know, don't look in your peripherals. You know, stay in your lane. You know, as they say, stay in your lane. Some books, just really quick. I like that Amanda asked, have any books inspired your entrepreneurship? I want to show you guys this book here. It's by Marco Margolis. Let's see here. Destroyed my bookshelf for you guys, but it's by Marco Margolis. It's called Believe Me. And this book I read a long time ago, but I love to reread it. It's Why Your Vision, Brand, and Leadership Need a Bigger Story. More of Everything Media, I wanted to contemplate on making a story behind it. You know, just like every entrepreneur has their story. This book has kept me really motivated to have your brand have a story behind it. And 2020 is going to be a great story for a lot of entrepreneurs. It's going to be an amazing story in history. So that's what I have to say about it.
Awesome. Is there another? Oh, wow.
There's another question.
Imposter syndrome. Oh, wow. Yeah, you
Denise,
know what?
do you want to ask it?
Elaborate.
Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Okay. So the question has to do with imposter syndrome. So how do you deal with that? Have any of you experienced that? And if so, how did you deal with it?
You know, it's a very, very good question, and I think it deserves many answers. So I'm happy we have 3 people who can give an answer to this question. I'll tell you for myself, being a military veteran, 10 years in the military, getting out, going to school to learn more about my craft, and then choosing entrepreneurship as a path. Many people thought that it was going to be the worst thing I can do. After serving 10 years, it was like, you know what? You only got 10 more years, you know, you can retire. It was just like, it was almost like there was no avenue for me to pursue. So I was already going against the grain. I was already going against what was normal. And I had to embrace that. First of all, I had to embrace it. I had to say, you know what? You chose this path. Like it's not an imposter to choose a path. I chose a path. This is the path that I want to go down. So own that pathway and just continue to build whatever you need to build. you need to build certain things, physically, and they need to build something things internally. And for myself, that self-awareness had to kick in order for me to do what I call self-design. And self-design is something that I've actually teach today as a method of dealing with imposter syndrome. And what it does is it allows you to understand, what are your attributes? Like, what are you good at? You want to be an entrepreneur. Okay, well, entrepreneurs are, always, the jack of all trades. Well, okay, that's great. But what are you really, really good at? Because at the end of the day, when you're pitching your big idea, someone will check you on, are you capable of creating that big idea? Where you can be like, yeah, I can get there, but here's what I can do right now for myself. Here's what I know I can do. And here's who I'm going to bring in to help me build those other things. You know, you can't do everything, but for one sure thing, that doesn't change your big vision, right? At the end of the day, that doesn't change that you're going to create a high growth technology company who actually eventually creates a medical device. Like that, if that's your goal, then stick with that as the driving force of creating and self-designing yourself, not only to speak about those topics, learn about it, know what the industry is doing. You don't have to be the expert. And that's one thing I learned real quickly. You don't have to be the expert. And the reason why imposter syndrome is there is because people try to be all things and you just can't. So don't try to be all things, which means you won't be an imposter at the end of the day. That's my kind of answer to that question.
Yeah, I have to add to that, especially with imposter syndrome, I guess, especially for young entrepreneurs going into certain rooms, it may feel like, oh, I don't deserve to be here. But the truth of it is that everybody has a different why, and you should own your why, because not everybody has the same types of experiences that you have, and what your driving factor is different from what everybody else's skills might be. They might have a skill in medical devices, but maybe your drive is because you had a family member who was affected by this and you were deeply hurt by it. And so you wanted to create something that could change, the future of the medical industry. But not everybody is going to have the same why as you. So you should own that story. And whatever skills that you're currently, not having, for me, on the technical side of things, I'm not great at, computer programming, but I have team members who could help me on that. The reason why I bring them on is because we share the same vision and I can learn from them. And they're smarter than me in that aspect. And I think it's important to talk to people who are smarter than you, talk to people who have done things that are different. And that is what is going to inspire you to keep going. One of my team members most recently, she was in charge of one of our projects for our crowdfunding platform. And she asked me, how do I manage students if I'm a student myself? And the advice that I gave her is that not everybody has the same experiences. So you might be more skilled in a certain area and you can mentor them in that area. But if they're going to shine in a specific area and come up with this code that is going to work amazing, you shouldn't feel bad that you didn't create it. Yeah.
And with this question, oh, did I cut you off, Kayla? I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead. No.
Okay. I was waiting for that for that meeting to happen. But this question, I love answering because I do personally get this one myself. It's what honestly, when it boils down to, I like to be a little blunt about those things. It's like everyone's doing it. Everyone's doing it. The term is called the remix attention. You take a great idea, great content that is working, that people are paying attention to at the current time, and you use it and flip it 10%, change it, tweak it, put your own sauce in there and do it regarding regarding the niche of if you want to be a content creator on the YouTube, because people tell me like, oh, hey, I see your website, but what is stopping me from going to complex.com? What's stopping me from going to SoundCloud? And then, I give them my reason that like, well, you can get directly in touch, and there's no current algorithm right now, although I do want an algorithm. There's no current algorithm right now that's gonna just throw you under the mat, etc. But it's an okay thing to do. You shouldn't feel, like you guys are saying, you shouldn't feel bad about it. You shouldn't feel bad about, I don't belong here. Like, oh, I didn't make it first. You shouldn't feel discouraged because you're jumping into almost a really oversaturated oversaturated market and trying to put your persona on top of that product. Just remix it and keep pushing forward, because that's what all the successful platforms have done. They've kind of just, took bits and pieces of what's working and meshed it with what they do. And that's how you have all your successful products, successful platforms, successful ads and everything like that, companies that are just so grown right now. So, I don't believe that I would ever get discouraged. The syndrome, they never fall to it. Everyone's doing it. So
Yeah.
Keep creating.
The last thing I would say on that too is I kind of put this in a holistical way. In order for something to be in existence, it has to go through the process of becoming something to become something. So I really believe in that, being and being, like doing, does, like you just gotta become. But in order for you to do that, you have to really trust the process. Everything you're doing, sometimes you will need to act like you've already ran a company that has run millions of dollars to go get that deal. You just might have to do that, but that's not that you're lying to yourself. That's not that you're being an imposter. It's that you got to go be that person. You got to be that individual. And it's funny, Caitlin, you talked about teaching other people, right? Like I'm an entrepreneur and I teach other entrepreneurs at UCI. Like one thing that I can always say is that maybe if I'm there teaching you at UCI, then what am I doing as an entrepreneur? Well, that's because I have a passion for this. I have a desire for this. And no matter what, it's so funny, that job was created specifically for me to go do what I like to do. So it just happens to be, it's not about being an imposter. It's about just stepping into that role. And like Caitlin said, owning that role and owning your why and just believing in it and truly deciding that, I'm not an imposter. I'm just trying to become someone that I'm not that person today at the end of the day.
Okay, I had a question. There's a question in the chat here that's very similar. It's from one of the participants to what I was going to ask you, but I'm going to ask Pratilla's question. What is a great way to get your brand out there?
Yeah, there's many ways. Yeah, a lot of ways to get your brand out there. I of course, what's my go-to? Social media, of course. Getting your brand out there as a first timer, that networking aspect, going to the mixers, going to the venues, before pre-COVID, of course, but now I would say getting your brand out there, all online, so social media. That's my take on it. But what do you two have to say?
Yeah. See, this is a tough question because first of all, a brand is really determined by the customers. It's not really, it's not you. It's not your. It's the wrong way to use the word brand. Honestly, your brand is when you have been established and your customers have told you what you are at the end of the day. So one thing that I've learned is that you have to stick with what works for you. So for example, for my company, Rock the Base, if we're going to go promote live entertainment on military installations across the country, why would I do a billboard downtown Los Angeles? It doesn't work for me, right? So I go to the base commander, I go to the base people who do promotion on the base, and I say, can we do promotion on the base? And that's all we're going to do, because we want those people on that base to stay in that community. So, I'm not going to go do a 30-second commercial and spend, $250,000 on a commercial. Like, we're going to figure it out how to save that money, spend it somewhere else. So I think every brand is different, but you really don't know your brand until you've actually been in business for a while. So I wouldn't say what your brand is, but if it's about trying to get yourself out there and get your early stage business out there, there are too many avenues to tell you one. Social media right now is a big deal. Some businesses think that they don't need to use TikTok. At the end of the day, TikTok created their platform for small businesses to use. Like, it's a reality check. Like, maybe there is a younger demographic using it for the other aspects of it, but TikTok is designed for small businesses to reach new customers. And so, like, I don't necessarily need TikTok for my business, so I'm not going to use it. But if you need it, you have to go learn about these platforms a little bit more. To be very honest with you, all of us don't need to use the same platforms. So you just got to figure out which one is a better driver for you. And I think then from there, you just got to really know that platform, know it so well, and just stay on it. You don't need 5 of them. Stay on Facebook, groups if that's all you need. Don't go anywhere else. So I'll lead it off to Caitlin because I know she does different things as well.
Yeah, I guess with social media, I know that you weren't really asking about social media. So I'll give you a little bit of what I did for my first company. Was when we tried to do market research, it was hard to find people to even interview. It's hard to just go out there and put it on Facebook and Instagram when you don't have any followers. So what we did was we went on, we actually just went in campus and just stood there and approached people and approached our target market. So what the first company that I built was we facilitated the digital exchange of professional contact information, so business cards and electronic business cards, digital ones. And we went up to students, we went up to professors, we went up to people who usually were in networking events and started asking them questions just to see if we could draw in, any of their pain points. And if something was repeated, then we would see that, oh, what we're trying to do here is something that is necessary and these people would want to use. So besides social media, I would say that going out to find those people and testing and seeing if they really are the right market or the right people who are going to purchase your product or your service, asking them those questions, open-ended ones, to learn more about what difficulties they're facing is really going to make that difference. Also, in terms of with social media right now, since we're creating a crowdfunding platform, it's a lot about consistency and visibility. With crowdfunding especially, people are not just going to give you $30, $40, $50 if they don't know who you are. And I think a lot of young founders don't know that when they get onto Kickstarter or GoFundMe or Indiegogo. It seems like, oh, if I just put this story up here, people are going to give me money, but it doesn't work that way. And so it takes a lot of planning. And that's what we're teaching with the Grasshopper method, is that teaching young entrepreneurs how to crowdfund. You have a reason to do it, start with your why, start planning now. If you have an idea, start 3 months, 6 months ahead, because if you do get that money, you're going to have to ship it. You're going to have to show that you have a product and a service in store. And so part of what we're teaching these people and these students is that you have to start early and start planning. Because marketing and marketing strategies definitely don't come about in a day or two.
Yeah. And the last thing I would say on brand is, to be very honest with you, if you already have a company and you're dealing with the brand right now, and your brand is probably sending mixed messages to your customers, then it's about going back to the drawing board a little bit to better understand your message. And it would never hurt to honestly go ask a brander to look at your brand. Honestly, a company, not a marketing company, by the way. Branding is a little bit different. So I think you really should take your brand serious. And if you believe you have something of value, treat it as such and take it to the next level. Don't be the entrepreneur trying to be the marketer, the brander, the coder, the designer, the CEO of the company. Like, really take yourself serious. And if you know branding is important, maybe it is about that you got to go figure out how to pay for branding. You brand yourself right from day one, you won't have to worry so much about the overall brand later on. You just do iterations over here and changes within your messaging. But for startups, I always tell them, before I send you off, like, I want to make sure you trust and you believe in what you're going to build. And as long as you do, don't go be the marketer and don't go be the brander. That's my biggest advice. Go pay for that. That's what it's for. And if you pay for it the right way and you do it the right way, you won't have to do it again.
Okay. So, Christian, did you already chime in?
Well, I spoke first after the question, and then she said it wasn't for social media. So I could just piggyback off what Kaylin and John said exactly. Get good at one skill first, then branch off. Just a personal story. Working at radio stations over here in Las Vegas, I took bits and pieces of how they work and incorporated it into my business, whether they're on the phone with callers, the type of music that they're playing, the type of music that they're introducing, when their meetings. They didn't have one person that tried to do it all. They had specific people for the specific roles. And when you're trying to build your brand, trying to get it out there, get good at that specific skill and talk to mentors. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Hold on real quick, Denise, one more. Sorry. One thing that I forgot to say is, honestly, the best brands are already out there. They do it right. So there's no reason to feel like you got to go copycat. But I'm telling you, they spend hundreds of $1,000s on branding. If you like a brand, go look at what they're doing. And you like something, screenshot it, whatever. Go figure out how it can make yours look very similar. To be really, really honest with you, if you're a product company, there's so many great product companies out there with great brands. Why try to come up with new strategies when they're spending hundreds of $1,000s doing that already? Just go figure out what you like and do a little bit more research on what they do. And it's not copycatting, it's literally taking a piece of what you see and turning it into your own value. And I think that's just the easiest way to stop like playing the game of brand marketing.
Okay, thank you guys. Thank you very much. I'm gonna do some quick rapid fire questions at each one of you. So Caitlin, I'm gonna start with you. Did you have a mentor? If so, how did that help you?
Yeah, definitely. I can't even name one because I've had so many different mentors throughout my life. I think as you go throughout life, there are those are the people that I attribute the most gratitude towards, because at every stage of life, you're going to need different types of advice. And these are going to be different mentors that are going to give you that advice. And there will be people that you can look up to in places that you aren't completely fluent in, or for me, I guess in high school, I had a couple of mentors who were a couple of grades older than me, and also teachers that were inspiring to me. And I also had met a couple of PTA parents in that area as well, who guided me throughout the journey, and also that I could reflect some of my ideas off of. And so one of them was Janet Yu. She got me into the city hall. That was how I initially pitched to the council members. And I guess that also shows the importance of keeping up with people that you think are going to be great mentors to you, updating them with what you're doing. Even if you don't have any questions, call them up, have a conversation with them. And now at UCI, Jean has been a really great mentor to me throughout my journey as an entrepreneur with StartSmart, connecting me with the right people, especially, opening up your network, because if you know someone else, then it opens up that network to 50 more people that you can contact. And two people that I really want to mention who have been mentors to me throughout my life are my parents. They've always empowered me to take initiative and step up to the plate. There are a lot of things that are going on. I'm still a student at UCI. I'm an engineering student. It's a lot, but they still continue to inspire me. And when I look at my dad working so hard every day, that inspires me. He might not have all the answers to my questions, but I can see him and I know what he's doing. I see what he's doing, and that inspires me. And my mom, she always inspires me to step up. There might be some opportunities where I feel like, again, with the imposter syndrome, right? You don't feel like you're ready for it. But if you put yourself in there and you try your best, that's honestly the most that anybody can do. And so throughout your life, when you think about gaining these mentors and talking to them, it's all about having that conversation and keeping up and updating them as well throughout your journey. And that's how they'll feel like they're a part of your journey into becoming a better person, into becoming a better entrepreneur.
Jean, what is design thinking in as quick as you can? And how does it work for business that I'm already running?
So design thinking, it has too many definitions. There's a lot of things from a corporate perspective to a college perspective. There's so many different perspectives. I just feel like it is thinking differently, first of all, about what currently exists. At the end of the day, we know that innovation is something we need, but sometimes it's not as this is new idea that you got to come up with. It's looking at what already exists and thinking about how it can be done differently. But thinking about it from a human perspective is probably the most perspective of what design thinking does for you, which is don't forget the customer, don't forget the human person that you need to build this for, or whatever it may be. And I think if you keep that at the center, design thinking, that will be basically what design thinking is for you. Yeah.
And Christian, this question says, I already have a small business that I'm running from home. what skill do you suggest I gain now to grow my business?
Yes. I want to say to that, this answer is the one that we had fun talking about while prepping as well. First off is, of course, do you know your target audience when you started your at-home business, your target audience? Once you know that, the skill I suggest that you gain is honestly, once again, just pitching to the right audience, problem solving in your pitch. How can you solve someone else's problem so they can get your product or come to your company and want to work with you? That's what I can say about it. If we're talking technical as a multimedia guy, I would say learn your Photoshop, learn how to make flyers, make ads for your business. Learn that as a technical standpoint, like get on Photoshop and learn.
Okay, so we want to be respectful of everybody's time. So we want to get some interaction with you guys real quick, some polling questions. So we're going to put up a few poll questions. You'll have about 30 seconds to respond. Can we get started with them? The first one is, what stage are you at as far as business is concerned? Are you interested in exploring, committed to an idea, looking to start up in 2021, or you already have a business? Please respond to the poll. On your screen, you should see the poll. I hope everybody enjoyed all of this great information from everyone, from our guests. And the results are, ooh, it looks like we got a lot of people interested in exploring entrepreneurship. That's great. Some people who are committed. So what would quickly somebody, one of our panelists, would you suggest to somebody who's interested in exploring?
Yeah, just figure out exactly what it is that Kaylee mentioned, what is your why? Like, why do you want to get into entrepreneurship? It's a crazy journey. Do you really want to do it? If you do, it takes you to take it serious at the end of the day, because all of your time commitments will be required to put time into this idea, this particular space of entrepreneurship. So first thing is, are you willing to put the time in? Second thing, are you willing to give it your attention? Third thing, are you willing to take that risk? And eventually money is needed. So you got to figure out how you're going to go get that money. Okay.
Okay. Second poll question, for those of you in business, what do you need help with the most? I don't see the poll.
Yeah, it's
still the
this is
first question.
Yeah, hold on 1 second here. Let me help you.
Okay.
There we go.
Well, we'll just do this one. Have you identified who your main customers are? Okay. Can we get a these questions that we're asking will help us to prepare for future workshops. And so we know what we can discuss or what you guys are interested in. You've been listening to us for the last hour or so. Now we want to hear from you. Okay, and the results are? Okay, so yeah.
Even, wow.
Yeah, it's pretty even with not yet and yes. Okay, next question is, I feel like I need to play some music. For those of you in business, what do you need help with the most?
Yeah, and as they answered the polls for this question,
Yes.
I like the previous question. Yeah, we had that was a question we had fun on. A lot of subcategories to go with finding your audience. That's interesting that it was even, that we had an even amount of people that did have, or didn't, not yet. So finding your audience, I would say I worded it as your niche. Your niche of who you're trying to get your product to, or who you want to see your business to help solve their problem. And there's much more to that. You can go on and on.
Results?
We got some results.
Growing is the winner.
Nice.
On growth.
This is great. This is great to hear from you. That growth and sales, someone put in the chat. And I think we have one more question, right? Money, somebody said. Okay. How have you marketed your business differently during COVID, if you have a business already? Okay, results.
Give it one more moment because there's so many coming in right now. Just one second.
Oh, are there? Okay, yay, hooray.
People are still voting, so that's why.
Okay, that's fine. I don't have anywhere to go right now.
All right, we passed over 50% of votes. That's great. So let's show the results here.
Ooh.
Digital marketing presence.
Okay.
So, yeah. So increased digital marketing presence. So is that marketing spend or creating content? Like, I would love to know what people are doing there. Are you spending more money, or are you actually doing more content creation? Anyone want to kind of throw something at us? Creating content every day, engaging. Yeah.
Okay, what does Frankie do?
Let's see.
What do you do, Frankie?
So I clean houses on post, and I've been doing it for about 2 years now. And my clientele is through the roof, but because most of the time when I clean their house, nobody's home. So therefore, nothing really needed to change for my business.
So one thing that I would say, do you leave anything behind, such as a nice little Frankie gift card or something? Not a gift card, but like a little wrapped maybe card that says, hey, pass this to the next person next door, whatever. You got something like that?
I don't, but that's actually a really good idea. I have kind of thought about it because there's other businesses on post, and I have seen where they leave like a little gift for the client when they're done.
Yeah.
And I have thought about it, but I just haven't quite gotten there yet.
So I'll tell you, in hotels, the reason why they keep you is because they give you chocolate on your pillow, right?
Yeah.
So what you should do is just go to Canva. It's free. Create a nice little poster, print it out, go grab some chocolate from the store, leave it on the kitchen counter, and just say, make sure you pass this to the next person if you like my work.
Nice. Thank you. That's a really good idea. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
You can even text your clients and be like, hey, like, I started using this type of disinfectant that takes off 99.9%, or everything like that. So just kind of talk about your disinfectants and your chemicals that you're using. Say that's the best, like, for these
more organic, right? More organic, much better products, right? If you can have better products, I mean, come on, who would choose someone who has chemicals all over the place versus someone who can do the same work with better products, right?
Right.
And you can charge more, by the way, for better products.
I'm going to go ahead and pass this over to Eartha to, kind of finish. We've kind of been doing our open discussion right now. but I'm going to pass it on over. Thank you, guys. Thank you all.
You did great, Denise. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Denise. Amazing.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
So at this time, we are wanting to invite those of you interested in getting more information to participate in some of our 2021 entrepreneurship workshops. So Denise is the contact person as the entrepreneurship instructor at BCC. She'll be developing some topics and we'll be looking to identify individuals to provide some coaching. I'm going to throw Christian, Caitlin, and John's name into the ring because I think they were so helpful in providing a lot of insight and encouragement. So I want to thank you, the three of you for being here. And Denise, maybe in the chat you can identify some of the classes that you teach and share that information. And I'll now pass it on to Thomas to talk about the virtual innovation dialogues.
Thank you, Eartha. Yeah, thank you, everybody. This has been fantastic. I've learned tons of stuff, and that's a good day for me. I love when I learn something new. So excellent. Yeah, we have plans for next year that basically there's going to be 2 events per month. One will be the entrepreneurship workshops, and the other one will be the virtual innovation dialogues, where we will have, similar to here, various panelists coming on board and sharing their experiences, and also provide some updates on what's happening in our area. So stay tuned. And we do have one more scheduled, and that for this year, and that is for Wednesday, December 9, where we'll basically talk more about what's happening in the year to come. So stay tuned, and thank you so much for dialing in here. It's been wonderful spending time with you all. And thank you for all the active participation.
Absolutely.
Yes. Yes, amazing.
Thank you, everyone.
Have a good one.
Awesome. And are we telling people, where to find us? Can we drop some
Absolutely.
Let's do it. I am Simo from moreofeverythingmedia.com, where the motto is no one's got us like us. So check that out, moreofeverythingmedia.com. The website is honestly an everyday work in process with my Pick Your Media tab. That's where artists can find other artists. You can find photographers for models. Models can find artists that need them in their music videos, etc. Like I said earlier, I'm with you guys. I'm with all the semi-beginning entrepreneurs. We're here making the snowball effect together. We're learning every day. So we're all the same here. And just reach out, and I'll reach out back. You can ask questions, and I'll be happy to answer. The podcast where I talk to my artist, my independent artist, is called Dope Hangouts, and the links are all in the same website. And if you want to reach out to me on the social media, you can find me at First Pick C. That's at First Pick CEE. The tag for the business page is at MOEX Media on all platforms. And can't wait to see you guys next year. And John and Kaylin, I'll be in touch with you guys right now after this. I have to be. And thank you, Eartha, Denise, and Thomas. Appreciate you, Thomas, for the invite. So that's all I got to say. I'm happy. You guys are amazing.
Yeah, thank you so much, everybody, for the opportunity. Christian, John, to get to know all of you, Denise, Eartha, Thomas. Thank you for inviting me in, as well as Eva, everybody on the everybody who is in the audience. This was definitely a very progressive conversation, and I loved getting to know all of you and also sharing some of my experience as an entrepreneur. We work with youth entrepreneurs, so between the ages of 13 and 30, you're never too young to start a company of your own. And I would love to talk to you about, education, mentorship, and if you need funding for your startups as well. I think Thomas also inserted my website on there. It's called StartSmart.co. You can get all of the information on there as well. We have multiple forms. And if you want to share it with your friends and educators, we would love to have you do that as well. So thank you, everybody, for the opportunity.
Absolutely. And thank you, everybody. All I got to say is start your entrepreneur journey today if you haven't started.
Yes.
And if you don't know, make sure to go to the chat go to the three dots on the right and you can save the chat.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
That way you have all the notes and the questions from today. All right.
Yes.
Have a good one, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye,
you,
everybody.
everyone.
Stay safe.
Thank you.
Bye. See
You
ya.
want to stay on for a moment, Denise?
Yeah, I'm not leaving.
Thank you. Okay.
I know.
Thank you, everyone. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Sure.
Happy
You're
holidays.
welcome.
Coming.
I guess we should say that, huh? Happy holidays. Oh my goodness, it's here.
No.
Here.
Around the corner.
Here. We have no choice. It's here.
And if you want to stop the recording, that's okay at this time.
Sure.